Hello, my name is Daniel Mullany from SITEK Process Solutions, and today I'm filming a short instructional video on how to successfully set up your spin rinse dryer with regards to facilities. So on the SRD there are 5 total facilities, which includes nitrogen, DI water, electrical, drain, and exhaust. And so I'm going to cover those quickly. For the most important one to set up, because the system is picky about this, is nitrogen. We want to make sure that we're meeting the nitrogen flow requirements for the system. In order to do that, we want to make sure of 2 things. Number 1, when you have a double stack, do not tee off from the regulator after the regulator to both systems. Whenever we do that and you run the system simultaneously, we're going to have flow loss problems. And number 2 is to make sure you're maintaining the spec'd out line size from your facilities on the wall all the way to the system. If you drop down in line size, the system might be able to build up pressure while in idle, but then when it runs, it's going to have a pressure drop and you're going to have alarms that'll prevent you from running properly. So with nitrogen, don't tee off your lines and maintain the line size. For DI water, the system's not quite as picky. In this case, it is acceptable to tee off to both chambers, and in terms of a flow meter, we definitely recommend it, but I've seen many systems set up without a flow meter, and we just want to make sure we have a ball valve to adjust the total flow. If you're in that circumstance where you don't have the flow meter, we're going to want to make sure we run the system and monitor the drain box on the back to make sure the drain box isn't overflowing. That's the biggest risk that we have by not setting up a flow meter, but if you're able to check the back of the system, run and monitor the flow rate that way, and make sure you're not overflowing, you should be okay. For electrical, we want to make sure that we match whatever's spec'd out when the order was purchased. Whether it's 110 volt, 220 volt, or something else, just make sure that we're following the cut sheet and making sure that the electrical provided to the system, as well as the plug, matches. In most US circumstances, we just have a normal wall outlet like you'd see in your house with 110 volt, and that should do the trick. We then have our drain. The main difference between the drain is going to be whether you have a double stack or a single stack / tabletop model. In a tabletop model, we're going to have a P-trap on the back of the system in order to prevent backflow. Whereas in the double stack system, the P-trap is already included in the plumbing in the back of the tool. So that's really the main difference. Other than that, we want to make sure that our house is able to handle the flow rate of the system, and that's all spec'd out in the cut sheet. Please do keep in mind that if you run 2 chambers on a double stack simultaneously, we're expecting double the flow coming out of the system and down your house drain. Lastly, we have exhaust, which is just hooked up to the back of the system. Exhaust is used in some circumstances, and other circumstances it's not. It's not entirely necessary, but it is a feature that you can use if you want to keep your internals of the SRD particularly dry and clean. So that's a brief introduction to how to set up your spin rinse dryer, and if you have any more questions, just call into SITEK at 916-797-9000. Thank you so much.